There's this one question that has followed us around since we first looked up at the stars and realized our time here is limited. How do we live with the knowledge that one day we're going to die? Today, we are diving deep into that fear. We're going to look at two really different ways of tackling it. One from a brilliant ancient philosopher, and another from modern science.
All right, let's just get right into it and face this thing head on. Because if you want to find a cure, you first have to understand the problem, right? And this problem, well, it's a fear that has shaped pretty much everything about us.
So what are we really afraid of when we say we're afraid of death? It seems like a simple question, but the answer, man, it gets to the very heart of what it means to be human. It's this: annihilation. It's not really about pain or leaving things unfinished. The real, deep-down terror is the thought of just stopping. The idea that this voice in your head, your memories, your personality, everything you are, will just blink out of existence. That's the dread we're talking about today.
But what if that fear wasn't something we just had to live with? What if it was more like a disease of the mind, something you could actually treat? Well, believe it or not, over 2,000 years ago, a philosopher decided that's exactly what it was.
Let me introduce you to Epicurus. Now, this guy wasn't your typical philosopher, lost in abstract thoughts. He was more like a therapist for the soul. He looked around and saw that the biggest thing messing with people's happiness was this constant nagging fear of death and whatever might come after.
And he had a goal. He wanted to get people to a state he called asteraxia. Just think of it as true peace of mind, a profound calmness, totally free from fear and worry. For him, this wasn't just some nice feeling, it was the ultimate goal of life. And he had a very logical way to get there.
So how did he do it? How do you cure a fear that's so primal? Well, not with stories or faith. He used cold, hard logic. Let's walk through his argument for why death is, and I'm quoting him here, nothing to us. So for Epicurus, it all started with his view of the universe. He was a materialist, meaning he thought everything, and I mean everything, was made of physical stuff. Tiny particles called atoms, and the empty space they move in. Now here's the kicker. That included the soul. He thought the soul was also made of very fine, delicate atoms. And if the soul is physical, well, then it has to follow physical rules. When your body dies and breaks down, the atoms that make up your soul, they just scatter. They can't stay together. And without the soul and body together, there's no consciousness, no feeling, nothing.
And that physical worldview leads him to this absolute mic drop of a conclusion. Just listen to this, it's so elegant. Death is nothing to us, since while we exist, our death is not. And when our death occurs, we do not exist. It's a perfect little logical box.
Let's break that down, because it's brilliant. There are only two states you can be in, right? Alive or dead. While you're alive, death isn't here yet. It's somewhere in the future, so it can't hurt you. And when you are dead, well, you aren't there anymore. You don't exist to experience being dead. You can't feel pain, you can't feel sadness, you can't feel anything at all. So death can never actually be a bad experience for you, because you and death will never ever meet. Fearing it is like fearing a party you're not even at.
Okay, so that was the ancient cure, a powerful dose of logic. Now let's hit the fast forward button and jump ahead about 2,300 years. Epicurus thought religion often stoked the fear of death. So what does modern psychology have to say about the connection between religious belief and our fear of dying?
Yeah, we're leaping right out of ancient Greece and into the research lab. For a long time, the thinking was pretty straightforward. People are afraid of dying, so they turn to religion for comfort and the promise of an afterlife. But is it really that simple?
Well, it turns out the real answer is way more interesting. When researchers started to really dig into the data, they found the link between being religious and fearing death isn't a straight line at all. It's actually a curve.
And to get a really solid answer, scientists did a huge meta-analysis. They basically combined the results from 100 different studies. We're talking thousands and thousands of people. This let them see the big picture, the real pattern. So what did they find? They found this, an inverted U-shape. And this is fascinating. Look at who has the lowest death anxiety. It's the people on the far ends of the spectrum. The deeply, strongly religious, low anxiety. But also the strongly non-religious, also low anxiety. So who has the highest anxiety? It's the people stuck in the middle, the moderately religious, the people who kind of believe but also have doubts.
This just raises another question, right? What is it about being strongly religious that seems to help? To get at that, we have to add one more layer here, because psychologists figured out that how you're religious might be even more important than if you're religious.
They make a distinction between two types. There's intrinsic religiosity. That's when your faith is your core operating system. You truly live it. It's the ultimate reason for everything you do. Then there's extrinsic religiosity. That's when you kind of use religion, maybe for social connections or for comfort when you're scared. And check out the results. People who are intrinsically religious, the true believers, report lower death anxiety, but people who are extrinsically religious, they actually report higher death anxiety.
So, what's going on here? We've got an ancient philosopher on one side and modern scientists on the other. They're coming from totally different places, separated by thousands of years, but it looks like they're both pointing toward the exact same thing.
Think about it. You've got Epicurus, who offers this complete, logical, materialist worldview. If you accept it 100%, the fear of death just evaporates. Then you have modern psychology, which finds the people with a deeply held intrinsic religious worldview also have less fear. The common thread here isn't what you believe, it's the certainty. It's having a coherent worldview that you are fully committed to.
And that really seems to be the big takeaway from all of this. It doesn't matter if you're certain there's nothing after death or certain there's a heaven. The human mind seems to find peace in a solid, coherent story. The real enemy of our peace of mind, the thing that feeds our anxiety, is being stuck in the middle. It's the uncertainty, the doubt, the ambiguity.
Which leaves us with one last, really big question to chew on. If having this kind of rock-solid certainty is the best medicine for our deepest fear, what's the cost? What do we maybe give up? Things like curiosity or being open to new ideas to get that kind of peace of mind. What is the real price of certainty?